positivity is one of those things that I've recently realized a lot more is super important, and that's really impacting the people around us. And make people happy is the number one core value that I always talk about. It's on the list. It's number one right there. The first one, whenever I think of them, I think of make people happy. That's the first one. So I really thought that it was important for me to kind of sit down and go over that core value, what it actually means, and how I came up with it. And I'm going to start kind of doing this consistently now and going through with y'all, making sure y'all understand, the values, because I think the core values are they're the foundation for everything we do. So I really want to go in and just kind of dive in depth. I'm going to try to keep this as quick as possible, so that way, we have time for questions and stuff like that at the end.
I just want to start out kind of by telling a little story about the power of mindset, right? I used to be, very fat. If you know me, I was depressed. I was, about to kill myself, like all of those things, And I don't even like to say that kind of stuff because it sucks, but it's the truth. I was in a low spot in my life. I didn't want to live. Like, I didn't feel like there was anything worth living for. I just started my business and it was like, I didn't really see any progress. I couldn't get a client. And let's be honest here, I wasn't putting in that much work or that much effort into not just business, but really anything, including my health, right? I sacrificed my health very hard for those few years. And it was one of the biggest mistakes that I could have made. But what I really want to talk about is how I transformed my life and how you can too, right? I was in a bad spot. Right. I think everyone knows my story, or not everyone, but most people here, at least on this call, probably know my story. But just a little recap, like I was fat, I was depressed, I changed my life. I saw a video from a content creator, Riley Jade Fitness, on TikTok. I was just scrolling my life away, losing all my brain cells like I usually do. And I just scrolled across her video and I really found it powerful. She was talking about 75 hard and I saw it and I was like, the next day, tomorrow, I'm going to get started on this immediately. And so the next day I started 75 hard. I completed it. Actually, I failed it the first time. I went 17 days. I ate a piece of cake that they made for my birthday in Cozumel, Mexico. I had terrible discipline at the time, so the fact that I made it 17 days was incredible. But I didn't let my bitch voice speak up. I went back. I started back from day one and completed 75 hard the first time. I've since done it a bunch of times. It's one of the cornerstone things that I do every single day. I'm working on doing it like as much as possible. So it's like one of my number one priorities is 75 hard at this moment. Just kind of growing up, I was surrounded by a lot of negativity. And I think that's partly what led to my depression and what led to me being so sad and so, brain dead and those kind of things, was that I was surrounded by the wrong people, right? I was surrounded by the NPCs that spoke negatively, and I thought that was normal. Right? Most people did that. Most people thought that complaining was normal. I did too. And now I realize that it's like absolute bullshit. No one should be complaining about anything. You should be happy. You don't make the people around you happy by complaining. And the only way that you can help make yourself more happy is by making the people around you more happy. Right? So happiness comes from energy, and energy is associated with the other people around you. So if you can make the people around you happy, you can yourself become more happy. And the way that you make the people around you happy is through health, right? Physical, mental, spiritual, all those things are what make you quote unquote happy, right? And the other thing that I'll say is that you don't have to be happy to perform. Right? You can perform when you're mad and you can perform with aggression. And I am one of those guys that runs a lot on dark energy, right? On like the fact that Andy Elliott has a shirt. It says, bet against me. May God be with my enemies, because I won't, right? I want to destroy my competition. That's one of my goals, right? But what I do on a daily basis is not affected by happiness, by my feeling, by how happy I am and how sad I am. It's not what affects my happiness. What affects my ability to perform is not emotions, it's logic. And sometimes obviously emotions does affect my ability to work. However, I want to try my best to not let it. And you have to realize you can control your emotions. You don't always have to be this sad little pathetic piece of shit that just scrolls TikTok all day. You have to build the discipline, and you do that by doing things that require discipline, right? Whenever I'm on 75 hard, whenever I got my power list going, like I'm always happier. I'm always in a better mindset. And I'm always better off as far as getting shit done. The only way that you can build discipline is by doing things that require discipline. So that's one of the biggest lessons that any Frisella has taught me. Like, you have to build discipline by doing things that require it, right? So like, I was telling you about my story about negativity, about all the people around me and that kind of stuff. And like, this isn't like, oh, well, be happy even when you're not. Like, it's not that bullshit, right? We see it every day. It's just like stupidity. But like today, I really wanted to come on here and deliver this message, especially to y'all, because today I've like helped out 3 people. I had 3 people reach out to me today and say that I helped change their life and help them make that decision. And you're always one decision away from changing your life, no matter where you're at. You can change your life so easily. You just have to make a decision, right? On that night when I was scrolling there on TikTok, I made that decision. I changed my life like that. And you have the ability to do the same. You just have to make the decision, right? You're not going to just change your life and get in physical shape by just sitting on the couch and doing the same thing you're already doing. It doesn't work. Can you not see that what you're doing is not, well, you're not getting the result you want? So why would you continue doing the exact same thing you're already doing, right? If your sales numbers are dropping and you're going to do the same exact thing that you're already doing, it's probably a sign that that shit is not working. Right? You got to surround yourself with the right people. And the only way that you can tell what results you'll get is by what input you put in, right? You can't control the result in sales, but you can control the amount of input you put in, the amount of training, the amount of time that you spend tapped into a program, right? If you can tap into a training program and train yourself to be a better person, you're going to be so much better off, right? You're going to get the results that you want, but you have to put in the input. If you don't put in the input, you won't get the output. It's just simple. It's math, right? It's fucking math. And if you can't get that around your head, I want you off my team, right? It just pisses me off that people can't understand to make that change. But I was in a spot where I didn't understand to make that change either. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about how you can make that change and how you can change your life. Most people, like Hermosi says this all the time. He says, most people already know what to do. We need to be reminded what to do, not told what to do. Right? People know that eating less food leads to weight loss. People know that when you eat more food, you gain weight. But people are still like, well, I don't know how to lose weight. No, it's not that you don't know how to lose weight. It's that you don't know how to stick to a fucking program, right? If you would just take that energy and put it towards your program, you would be so much better off in your life. If you can take those negative attitudes and you can see, I'm fired up right now, right? And I am fired off of negativity, but I'm also telling you that I know that there's a way to change your life. And the way to win, you want to know the secret on how to win every sale? Write this down. Belief. Belief. If you believe in the product and you believe that the product can change people's lives, you will make it every single time, right? When I close deals for my client, right, I knew, hey, this client has a product that will change people's lives, right? And I knew, hey, if I can change someone's life, the butterfly effect is real. I've seen it time and time again, right? And I was just talking about this a minute ago. I've had 3 people today basically come up to me and say, hey, you've changed my life, right? I got to talking to one of them and he was talking about, okay, now his girlfriend's on a program, on a fitness program, right? His girlfriend's on it, right? He's on it. His girlfriend's now on it. He's got friends that are doing the same program and he is changing other people's lives. Write down compound interest, right? If you have compound interest on the reciprocity that you give to others, the way that you help other people and you save the world. And my mission is to help other people help themselves so that they can help the people around them. Because when I got fit, the people around me started getting fit, right? When I started taking my life seriously, the people around me started doing the same. When I said that I wanted to become an entrepreneur, I get people every day coming up to me asking me, hey, what are the steps to become an entrepreneur? I got a masterclass coming, if you can see on the whiteboard behind me, if you are, setting or whatever, I got a masterclass coming on that. So, but people ask me every day, right? How do I start a business? How do I branch out on my own? How do I become an entrepreneur, right? How do I do it? The trick to get people to come up to you like that is to be the best, right? If you can be the best, there's no competition. That's the secret. Just be the best. Now, what does be the best mean? That's obviously a very broad phrase, but be the best is not measured on your results. It's measured more on the inputs that you make, right? If you're here and you do sales, right? And say you're a setter, right? And you go on and you make 10 outbound DMs a day and you get 3 calls, right? And then, you got the other guy that, sends out 100 outbound DMs a day and gets 25 calls. Although he's getting lower amount of calls per person, he might have not as much skill. He's putting in 10x the input, and he's getting 25 calls booked versus 3, right? So that is your problem. Your problem is that you base everything on outputs instead of inputs, right? If you can put in the right amount of inputs into the game, you will get whatever you please on the output. Back to positivity, like, I started going to my gym, and my gym, especially like the people at my gym is awesome. The office, like if you're in Charlotte, like a few people here I see are in Charlotte. Like if you're here and you know this gym, you'd know why, but the people around this gym just ultimately just radiate positivity, right? And I had an experience, and I actually broke my finger on this experience, funny enough, but where there was a guy that was not re-racking his weights, right? And so I kindly asked him, like my friend kindly went up to him, asked him, and the guy cussed him out. And it made me realize, hey, I've done this before too, not maybe to this extent. I'm not necessarily like a male Karen or anything like that. I'm more of an introvert. I keep my mouth shut. But the negativity doesn't benefit anyone, right? That guy is going to be madder at night, and I'm going to be more mad at night. And what did I do? I went and re-racked his weights, and I got angry a bit at him, right? And I made the bad decision, but I made the good decision of re-racking his weights, but I tried to slam his weights just to get his attention and to show him like, hey, I'm re-racking your shit because you're a pussy. And I re-racked his weights and I broke my finger, right? It happened. What did I learn from that experience? I learned that anger doesn't solve your problems, right? When was the last time you started arguing with your wife or, your spouse or someone around you started arguing with a friend and it helped you in some way? Very rarely does that help you. Most of the time, it's taking your energy away from your positivity and the skills that you can provide to the world, right? When I made this shift from just a negative mindset to being positive and to helping the people around me, no matter how much of an asshole someone is, just kill them with kindness, I changed my life and changed the opportunities that I have, right? I have so many more connections just by being a nice person. It's not that hard, right? I went out and I got a good, relationship with the people who own this gym, with the people who manage this gym that I'm talking about, with the office, and the people who work there just in general, right? And I know these people very well. And why do I know them? Because I was spreading positivity. I was helping people out, greeting people with a smile, right? And I'm not the type to smile, right? You go look at my Instagram. Most of my photos I'm not smiling in. Most of them I'm just sitting there like this, right? What's the reason? Well, because I am just not that type of person. But look at my posts where I have smile. Most of them perform better. Why? Because I'm spreading positivity, right? They make me happier to post that kind of stuff. Now, you have to post the stuff to inspire the people around you to change, because if you don't, you'll never make it. But you have to make sure that you are actually prioritizing not just your own happiness, but the happiness of the people around you. And the way that you make the people around you happier is by making yourself happier. Right? Get in physical shape. Get your spiritual health right? Get your mental health right. Get those things right first. Those are the biggest levers that you can pull. I see all these people talking about, well, I need to start a business. I need to buy all this stuff. That's not the place that you should fucking start. Why? Because it's not the biggest lever. You got to pull the biggest lever first, right? You got to get the stuff that actually matters out of the way and work based on priority. Because generally people spend 80% of the time on the bottom 20% of the work. And it's not right. It's not right. You need to change that out. You need to change your mindset from, okay, I'm just going to focus on, this little thing, to pulling the biggest levers, right? Closing the biggest people, right? It's math, right? It's back to math. And I get it. We live in a sales world. Most of y'all on this call are salesmen or setters or closers or whatever you do. We live in a high stress situation. And it's very hard to be positive when you live in a high stress situation. But guess what? You can do it. I know you can. I've done it myself. And when I become positive, I sold so much more. Why? Because I inspired the people around me and I killed them with kindness. It's what you have to do. Spoiler alert. It is hard for every single person that comes into your space. Every single person that you're complaining to, every single person you're talking to, it's hard. It's not easy for any of us. None of us just live a life that has no bad days. You're not special. You're not. Everyone experiences hard times. But what you do about it is what changes you. That's what makes you special, is how well you can overcome those things, right? If you can't overcome a low sort of hanging fruit like that, you're never going to make it. You're just not. I want you off my team if that's the case. If you're going to just complain about how hard it is for you and that kind of thing. And I used to do that too. It was a mistake that I made, and that's why I'm trying to save you the time. It's one of the biggest things that I've learned over the past year. It's just making people happy. If you make people happy, your sales rate goes through the roof. I promise you. But guess what? You have to make a conscious decision to be positive. Right? You have to make a conscious decision that you're no longer going to tolerate the people around you that complain. Right? I've cut off my best friends. My inner circle is small. Like most of the people here on this call are my inner circle. My inner circle is not just 100 fucking people that I just let into my circle. I'm very selective with who I choose. Very selective. And if I wasn't, it wouldn't be a good inner circle. It just wouldn't, right? For one thing, don't try to change anybody because people won't change, right? You should try to help them help themselves. Don't try to do it yourself. You're not going to do it yourself. And people aren't going to use that shit long term. It's not going to happen. You need to make the decision to better yourself. Then the people around you will change. They'll see what impact you've made. I promise you. You might not believe me right now, but I promise you, if you just stick to it, if you change your life, the people around you will change. I've seen it time and time again. My friends getting in the gym after I did change, and the people around you will change too, right? You have the ability to change your environment, right? If you've, in high school, we had a guy come talk to us. I forget his name now. He was on Andy Frisella's podcast as well. Let me know if y'all figure it out. But he wrote a book and had a big story about the coffee bean is what it's called. And he basically said you can boil different things, but if you boil a coffee bean, the coffee bean will make the things around it into a better form of themselves, right? It'll change the things around them. So he went to prison, and instead of, just joining in with these other people, joining in with a gang, or, not joining in with a gang and just getting into, other group, right? Instead of joining in like that, he added positivity to his environment. So he changed his environment just like a coffee bean would. Right? And I don't remember his name. Maybe somebody can drop it in the chat here. But he had a really powerful story. And that kind of changed my perspective on, positivity as well, is you have the ability to change your environment. You just have to take the actions to do it. Right? And, some of y'all aren't actually going to do this. Some of y'all are going to continue to be negative. And I'm going to have to fire you because of it. Right? Like I said, number one on the core value chart is make people happy. Write that down. If you haven't already written that down, if you don't have a pen and pad out, you're basically should be off the team anyway, but write down, make people happy. Write it down and circle it as many times as you need to remember that, right? When you start spreading positivity, the people around you start to become more positive. And like I said, I had so many people tell me that I was one of the most negative people on the planet and that I was super negative, and I was surrounded by it when I was young. Right? But I'm not the type of person to complain about it. I can't complain about it because as soon as you complain, you're letting your emotions win. You're letting your bitch voice win. You don't want to do that. You have to control your mind. Because if you can't control your mind, you're not going to be able to control a sales team. You're not going to be able to control a business. And I'm not going to promote you. Right? So I know this was kind of felt, very rah-rah motivational type shit. It's not meant to be that. It's meant to say, please just do your best to have belief in your product and know our product changes lives. So that's why we do what we do, right? Because if you don't believe in the product, how are you going to sell it? It's unethical.